Welcome to the Three Principles Global Community webinar. The Three Principles Global Community, or 3PGC, is a non-profit organisation committed to bringing an understanding of the three principles, as introduced by Sydney Banks, to people throughout the world. And our guest speaker today is Sandy Loyall from Australia. Soon after graduating as a professional counsellor, Sandy stumbled upon the principles, which promptly changed the way she worked with her clients for the better. She has a long history of working in community services, and since opening her private practice has assisted individuals and couples lead happier lives for over 8 years, mostly face-to-face in her cosy office in Bangalore, New South Wales in Australia, but she also works online. Sandy holds a Bachelor in Education and a graduate diploma in counselling, but sees her varied life experience as her most valuable asset. Infertility issues, chronic illness, divorce, world travel, and so on. Sandy and her second husband, Pete, of 20 years, enjoys her simple, small-town country life, spending time with family and friends, participating in her local community, gardening, reading, and trying to stay fit. And today, Sandy is going to be talking with us about, do you have to believe every thought you think? Thank you so much, Sandy.
Thank you, Justine. That was very lovely. And yeah, I think I'll try not to speak too much because I guess people who know about the principles know that we're kind of pointing to something that is happening when we're not speaking. But we do have to speak a little bit and then go, okay. So that's just the way I see it. I'm not an expert. I'm just someone I'm the same as you guys. I'm just someone who has seen something, and I've seen how it can affect people once they see it as well. So, and the reason we are here today is because you may have seen my email that I sent out about not believing every thought you think. And the person who I sent it to originally, she said, "Oh, Sandy, this is so good. It's really powerful." And the next day, Justine called me and said, "Do you want to do a webinar?" So it was a little bit of a timing thing. So here I am to talk about why and how you don't have to believe every thought you think. There's probably some of you that already agree with that, or think that, you don't have to believe every thought you think. Is there anyone that thinks you do have to believe every thought you think? That's okay, that's all right. Basically, for me, the main thing to understand is that we are being guided in the same way as if we are in pain physically. Like if we hurt something, if our body detects some kind of pain or discomfort, it makes an adjustment or it creates an alert. Even sitting here crossing my legs at some stage without me having to do or think anything, it will just change legs to prevent the first leg, dying and dropping off. So basically, it's really important for our brain to understand where discomfort is coming from. And because when it believes discomfort is coming from a certain place, it will then do whatever makes sense to help us to feel better, because the default programming is to feel good. It's the way we are when all of our ducks are in a line, or all of our thoughts are in a line, or we're just in the present and we're just, oh, wow, I'm alive. Isn't this an amazing world? So we're being guided by the quality of our thinking in any moment. If we believe, if we're noticing some uncomfortable feelings in our body, a lot of the time it'll be coming from our subconscious thoughts that are just bubbling up because of a misunderstanding about how the system works. And I'm sure there'll be lots of questions. I hope this is making sense. I'm trying to go slow. For example, even when I woke up this morning, at first I was quite relaxed, but then bing into my head, there's a webinar at 10 o'clock. My poor brain was going, oh, it started to sort of do a whole lot of thinking about that. But because I knew that that's what was happening, it wasn't actually coming from the webinar or like itself or what was going to happen or anything like that. It was just coming from my mind, just doing a thing, trying to keep me safe. Because subconsciously it might be thinking, if I muck this up, I'll be thrown out of the tribe and die alone in the forest, something like that. It's scared, it gets scared. But because I knew how the system worked, I just went, oh, I'm onto you. And that happens automatically. That's another thought that just pops in and goes, no, I'm okay. And the feeling dies down after a minute or so because I'm not believing that thought and thinking, oh, the webinar, oh, this is really scary. And oh, then I could just keep thinking more scary negative thoughts and become totally incapable of even hosting a webinar. But I'm safe and even happy, like it's fun. So I guess that's kind of an example. The main point I'm wanting to get across is that when we understand where the feeling is coming from, it's much easier for the mind to come up with wise, helpful thinking than it is to try and manage the webinar or have a perfect outcome or change whether people are coming or not or change what I'm going to say or there's just a it's okay. I'm okay. It's going to be okay. And when I'm in that state, that's when the next best thing to do will just pop into my head that makes common sense rather than reactive sense. And in my experience, it just mostly makes the most sense to when I look around at the world and I know that the right thing is just going to pop into my mind to help me in the next moment and in the next moment. It helps me to relax and just enjoy what's happening because nothing has to be a certain way. My mind makes up that things have to be this certain way, and then if they're not, I get all upset. But life is just this most amazing thing that's evolving moment by moment, and we don't know what's going to happen. So when we're thinking some things that are unhelpful, we'll know because we'll be able to feel it. We'll be tense or we'll be angry or And there's nothing wrong with those feelings at all. That's part of being human. But when we understand what's happening, it helps us to make a wiser choice about what to do about those feelings. We'll still want to deal, we'll still want them to settle down. Our mind will still want us to calm down, but it will come up with a wiser answer. Often it's just make a cup of tea. No, I'm just joking. I know people are going through, everyone is going through different things. And every feeling, it's basically sacred. It's telling us, come to the present moment where you're okay. It's like a little it's just a little reminder to our whole system that we're heading in the wrong direction. And when we understand that, it just doesn't make sense to keep going in that direction. It's like, I don't know if anyone has been on a tram in the middle of Melbourne. It's like a trolley car. It's on the road and they tootle around Melbourne. And when I understand, if I accidentally get on the wrong tram, I'm looking around and I can sense it and I know it, I'm aware. What do? I get off the tram and get on the right tram. So once our mind understands that feelings are coming from the tram, a tram of thought, not a train of thought, they're coming from a tram of thought, we can get off that tram because we're aware, we can notice how we feel. And it can take a different amount of time. Sometimes it can take a bit longer to notice and understand, remember. But eventually the mind just goes, this is just my experience. The mind just goes, oh, you're doing it again. But you don't have to, you can keep doing it if you want to. Like, sometimes you do need to be cranky. If someone's attacking someone or, might have to get in there and grab them off or something, you won't be able to stop yourself if there's something to be done, if there's something actually dangerous or something that needs doing. We're very wise machines. But if we spend too much time believing the unhelpful stories, sometimes we can be not quite as wise. And we turn to solutions that they might work temporarily, but not for long, and they might get us into trouble. So that is where I'm going to start. And what I'd love to do is take a few questions. And if anyone has any, maybe that's it. We can all just understand that we're being guided and that underneath all of our personal thinking, there is wise thinking, and we are conscious beings who can notice and adjust. That's all we're really doing, isn't it? Noticing and adjusting all the time. Okay, if anyone would like to, there's a hand. That is, I think it's Marianne. Marianne, we'd like to hear from you, please. If you can take your speaker off mute, that'd be great. I think it's, it's not Marianne. No, it was my what do you call it? Mouse. It looked like a hand. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, so Greg, here we go, Greg.
Hello, Sandy. Thank you for being here. I recently heard this in the 3PG realm, I suppose you could call it. If you could just comment on this, because I love it.
Mhm.
I cannot think and listen at the same time. I'm 55 years old and no one has ever said that to me before. And it was just like, that is so cool. Could you comment on that, please?
I love that. I love that. Listening and watching and listening is something that is a very peaceful experience, and it comes with a feeling. If I'm talking, if I'm commenting, I can't be hearing. I'm actually getting in the way of perhaps even of someone else saying something that might be helpful. If just to say I'm at a dinner table or something, if I'm doing all the talking, just say I'm doing all the talking and there's 7 other people there, think of all the things I'm not hearing. And it's just and also what I'm learning, if I'm listening to all of the other people, and I'm also learning, I'm sort of noticing myself, I'm noticing what's happening, and it's just a different experience. We can feel compelled to speak, but we don't have to listen to that idea either. Is that enough, Greg? Does that answer what you were thinking? How did you
No.
see it? What did you see in it?
Just looking at my own track record, not really truly listening most of my life because I lived in my intellect, and thank goodness there's a way to not do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why these principles, they just, I don't feel like I have to study it for 50 years to figure it out or finally get it or graduate or whatever. It's like, just hang out, man, have a cup of coffee, chill out, and just become a better listener. So that's kind of how I took it. Thank you for your comment.
Thank you. That's beautiful. I love that. Listening, it's such a beautiful thing. And what I've noticed is if I pause, when I'm listening to somebody, if I pause, they'll keep going. Like, it's not like we always have to jump in and say something in order to keep the conversation going. And it can be so helpful for the other person to get some things out because they hear themselves, and then the wise part of them says, oh yeah, but this. Sometimes they'll actually even solve their own problem, which is fun to watch. Yeah, I just love when noticing that when I consciously and just listening and making the decision to listen, people share, and it's such a powerful privilege to hear other people and maybe help them in that way even. Yeah. Okay, so thank you, Greg, for that. And Paula.
Hi. And
Hi.
hello to other people that I know from the 3PG community. Nice to see people. My question relates to something that I'm experiencing right now that I'm finding I have some confusion about, and I'm hoping, Sandy, maybe you could shed some light on for me. I will experience being caught up in a thought created experience, and I'm aware of that. And I am frequently mostly aware of it by the feeling and not aware of the thinking that's causing it. So clearly it's subconscious or something like that that's arising. And what I notice is in these particular arenas in which this will happen,
Mhm.
it will be recurrent. I'll get caught up. It will subside over and often it's a few days. It'll take a few days for it to subside, and it will subside, and then I'll be back in this situation again, and I'm caught up again.
Mhm.
Here's where the rub lies for me. Within these life circumstances in which my thinking appears to get stirred up, I
Mhm.
have actions and decisions that need to be made, and I lose access to my wisdom. And
Mhm.
I feel like as what happened recently is I feel like I make some poor decisions in the circumstance because I don't have access to my wisdom. I'm caught up in my thinking, and it takes me too long to get off the tram. Can you speak to that at all?
Certainly. Yes, sometimes a certain there'll be a certain thought that's a bit niggly, isn't it? It'll keep coming up, and that happens to me as well. And all I can say about that is that sometimes if I add any extra thought to it, for example, oh, there it is again, or what's wrong with me? Why haven't I thought I'd figure this out. Anything like that, that's what will keep it coming back. That it keeps you on the tram. And then there are also things that do need, like you said, that do need our attention. We have to make decisions. For me, it's just understanding that, I guess it comes to this other part of this understanding, which is who we really are. People talk about who we really are. And I'm not sure if this will make sense straight away to everyone, but I see this conscious person as one person, part of me, and then there's the story machine part of me. So in those situations, I really try to remember that who I really am with the access to wisdom is that conscious part of me that is constant. It's not changing. It's looking out, like hello, I'm here, like in here. Yeah. That part of me has been the same since I was this big, and everything else is changing, whirling, feelings, atoms, thoughts, whatever. It's all just this flux of basically survival, I guess, if I'm going to get scientific or something. It's all about keeping the system going and alive and safe. And so it's about changing my relationship. I have a relationship because there's two of me here. I don't take that quite as seriously. It might be happening and I might notice it, but I can still be in the present, noticing what's actually happening in front of me that needs a decision. And try to. And then the other thing that's just occurred to me is that sometimes I can have another try. Like if I accidentally get caught up and I make a mess of something, and then I remember, well, then I go back. Sometimes I do it with my husband. I'll just be tired and I'm cranky or something, and I say something, and then I'll just come back and say, no, you're right. We do need to do this, or whatever. Like you can have a second chance at whatever it is when you take into account that it's not all about what this little thing thinks. There's other people that have their own little thing and their own conscious awareness and their own understanding of the world. We're living in 8.1 different realities. it feels like we're all in the same world, but we're actually all living in a different world. I don't know if you've noticed how different people's experience can be of the same thing.
Yeah.
How
I mean,
is
that's
that
part,
happening?
oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I mean,
go on.
that's partly what I'm dealing with right now, is that there's a circumstance in which there is something has occurred that I see differently than the other person, and my attempt to rectify it does not appear to have helped. And so now, and I think that's partly probably what's stirring me up now, and I don't know what to do. And I thought I knew, and something else happened. It's something. This thing keeps layering and layering, and I'm spending more time caught up, fully aware that I'm caught up. I am fully aware that I'm caught up, but I do not have access to wisdom to know what to do. As soon as I know what to do, something fresh happens and I'm back in the soup. And that's kind of what you did say that really spoke to me here is the example with your husband. You know, like we messed up. I made a mess of something. And that may be too strong, but the other person really took it much further than what I meant, what I was trying to get across, and has moved on in a plan of action that is causing that I am having distressful thinking around, and I am. So my point is that I get to a place of wisdom, and then because of the other person's separate reality, there's another new layer that brings up distressful thinking for me, and I can't find my bearings in this. And I just realized that in this circumstances, I can't find my bearings.
Can't find your bearings.
I get thrown out. I find them, and then there's the interaction, and there's another, I'm thrown off again. So that's what I'm dealing with. I'm not able to find my bearings in this situation. Yeah.
Might it be fair to say that there's a part of you that wants this sorted out as soon as possible?
Yes, that's very fair. Very fair to say.
Yeah. So sometimes
darn expectations, darn thinking that says there's expectations around this.
Yeah. Sometimes we can, all it is the timeline thing. We can just go, that's what we're feeling, is that that little thought, it should have been fixed by now. And I don't like that it's not over, and what's wrong with this person, and what's wrong with me. And yeah, it sounds like it might be it sounds like, yeah. What comes up for you when I say that about the timeline?
That I may just need to wait this out. I may need to wait this out and continue to do what I can to get my bearings. And if I keep getting thrown off, I just keep getting thrown off until something arises, either on my part or this person's part or the circumstances part, where, and however long that takes. That's what's coming to me.
I love that. And how does that feel like when you say that? Does it come with a bit? And I mean, when you say I'm going to have to wait, like, does it go like, oh, is there a little bit of a, oh, like?
There is a little bit of pressure taken off. Yeah. What I realize in what you've said is that I think you're right. I think there's an expectation of mine is, oh my gosh, I could fix this if only, you know, and I just need to maybe let it go. And I do think there's a little bit of pressure that lifts from that.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard someone say once that wisdom always comes with a better feeling. That's when you know you're on the right track.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. That's helpful.
Thanks, Paula. Good luck. No, you don't need luck. You won't need luck. It'll be fine.
Nope.
Or it won't be, which will also be fine.
That's
now
right. Well, we've got it. I've got it.
Sorry.
In some way, shape, or form. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I heard a funny person talk about expectations. She said they're basically disappointment and frustration under construction. So yeah. Those darned expectations, which of course are just our mind making up a story, wanting, it's all about control, isn't it? Let's face it, we're all control freaks. I know I am. Yeah, we find it hard to just look at the world and see what happens. But we can just trust. We really can just trust. I mean, I'm 61 now, and I have got 6 decades of evidence now, and you all have decades of evidence because you're older than 20 mostly, that things work out. It's quite amazing, the huge things. But that's probably just the benefit of maturity, but it's nice to know that things do work out eventually, one way or the other. I feel like the whole system of us and the species and the planet is trying to work out for the best. Don't watch the news, because that will make you think the opposite, because it doesn't show all the good things that are happening. Can I just share? And I don't think it's a scientific thing, but someone shared that if all the news about all the things that happened on the planet in one day, 24 hours, was a news story for one day, 23 hours and 59 minutes and a half would be good news. People loving their kids and cooking dinner and going to school and caring for their elderly and all, planting gardens, and 30 seconds, even less, it would just flash across at the end, all of the bad news. So, but news broadcasters need to make a living, so they only show the bad stuff so that we'll come back. Our brain loves that. This little part of our brain loves learning about the bad stuff so that we'll be prepared and safe. That's just my humble experience. Does anybody have any other questions? Yeah. So it's probably even just a good thing just to sit for a minute and just notice the world, notice the sounds. I can hear crickets, I think, and not just metaphorically. There are actual crickets out there. I can hear a clock ticking. Mary has her hand up. Hello, Mary.
Hello. Hi, Sandy.
Hi, Mary. Good to see you.
Adrian, hi, yes. Yeah, because I was so thankful with even Paula's concern, because I thought I had a case and I had a complaint, and I said, I started out saying, okay, I don't have to believe every thought of mine. What about, do I believe somebody else's thought? So I actually, for a little bit, I held a grudge against my brother for him saying something that I thought right there, I reacted like that was mean. But later on, he actually, in his own way, not apologizing, but he's like, you know me, I would say things that meant no harm. But anyway, it was still kind of on my mind. So was so great that all of a sudden, even as Paula was talking, the two of you with your exchanges, all of a sudden, just another thought popped up. Oh, well, I love my brother anyway. I love you anyway. So
Yeah.
again, I felt that lightness.
Yes.
Love you anyway.
Love you anyway.
So I just want to share that. And again, thank you. Thank you for.
That's beautiful, Mary. And I want to ask you if I can, like it maybe even the pause that you, like when you said that you had oh, that was mean. But in another situation, you might have said, that was, you're mean, like, and created this huge, mess. But it sounds like, I could be wrong, but it sounds like you didn't do that. You sort of thought it and you felt it and you went, that was mean. And then gave the space for him to perhaps have a think about what he'd done, like you said, and sort of apologize.
So appreciate you catching that part too. Yeah, I think my understanding of this power of thought has definitely helped me in terms of all kinds of relationships.
Yes.
Yeah, that, right? Even though in my head I could have that overreaction, but it didn't come out as anything that might be harmful or not helping the situation at the moment.
I love that. I love that, Mary.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for pointing that out as
Yeah,
well.
you're welcome.
Thank
You're
you.
so welcome. Yeah. Yeah, it can be fun dealing with a problem without making it a bigger problem. Just and understanding, like they talk about love and understanding, like understanding the other person and having compassion for their experience because they're experiencing their unhelpful thinking. That quite often they won't really know what's going on. Yeah, most of the world. Can I just, and I love that you pointed out about love, Mary, because who was it? Linda Pransky recently. I was listening to her and she said, it's like, the dial on a toaster that can go from light to dark, burnt toast, light toast. She said, when it's on one end of the scale, let's call it the burnt toast, we're in judgment and fear and insecurity and it's all our own thinking. That's what's causing these feelings of, judgment, fear, and insecurity. But once we understand that it's coming from thought, it's not coming from the brother or any circumstance out there or our bodies or the past or the future. Can't be any of those things. It's always our thinking right now. We can turn the dial because at any given moment, these other feelings of love and understanding and compassion and forgiveness, they're available to us. They're all the wise thoughts. They're available at the same time. So we can, our mind, once we understand it, our mind kind of turns the dial and flips over to it can. It doesn't happen instantly every time, but once we understand that that is one of the options on the smorgasbord, we don't have to keep eating the burnt toast. We can put the burnt toast down and pick up some nice, lightly cooked toast, put a little bit of butter on it, and have a better experience. Because it's actually all only about our experience. That's the only thing we have control over. And everything else is kind of tentative in the world because we can rub people the wrong way pretty easily, can't we? So we just, like you said, Mary, as well, I love that you said you're just concentrating on keeping yourself in a good place, and that's what's available. That's it. And what if that's our only job, is to keep ourselves in a relatively good place as much as we can, because then at any given moment we're in the right frame of mind to deal with whatever happens. I mean, technically, if we look out into the world, into nature, it was all here. We've just turned up like bing, and we start looking around and we start making up a lot of stories about something that's been here for a long time. And we start all of this judgment accidentally about what's happening. And everyone else is doing the best they can as well to feel good, but it's often different to what we think they should be doing, or etc. They think we should be doing something different. My dad passed away nearly 2 years ago now, and I was sad. Of course I was sad, and I was crying. I was heavily into the principles even then, but it was sad. For a certain amount of time. But there was actually one funny moment where the next day I was at a cafe, and I was sort of sitting and I was having my cup of coffee, and I was, and then all of a sudden the thought that popped into my head was, I'm making everything up. I'm making everything up. And I can make up whether it's sad, but there will always be another way to look at things. And we can't have life without death. Those kind of thoughts come in, and it helps to feel better. It helps go, I don't have to do it on purpose. That thought just pops into my head because I understand about feelings. I notice, and I don't have to just even keep, I don't even feel like I have to keep, what's the word, alert to my feelings. It's just the understanding, because how can I control my thoughts? They just pop in. But when I understand what's going on, the helpful ones pop in more often, all by themselves, because it's common sense. For the first 50 years of my life, I would be hitting myself with a hammer accidentally and not knowing. But once I realized that I'm doing it to myself, I used to think it was my husband or kids or whatever was causing these feelings. So I'd be reacting and stop that. And then I go, oh, I'm hitting myself on the head, Oh, and I don't have to? Oh, okay. I'll stop. It doesn't make sense to keep doing it once you see. Mm. 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 Does anyone else have anything arising? Justine does.
Yeah, thanks, Sandy. This is really beautiful conversation, and I was really struck by the toaster dial analogy, because what I love about it is that there's so much possibility. Yes, there's the burnt toast end where everything, where it looks really bad. And then there's, I guess, the other end, which might be like pure wisdom, but there's so much in between. It can be a shift, doesn't have to be that whole shift all at once. It can be just that I think something which just feels a little bit better. And like just move a bit on the dial, and then I probably have more access to moving a bit further on the dial. And it just feels lighter. Thank you for
I
sharing.
love that, Justine. I really love that. It's because sometimes even thinking that you have to go the whole way can have the opposite effect. If you tell something, it's like telling someone what to do. They go, well, you can't tell me what to do. It's like, well, you have to feel love and appreciative and like all the time. No, grateful all the time and having fun all the time. No, I love that you've pointed that out. Even knowing that you can just generally take little tiny baby steps with the dial. Yeah. And even just the knowing that, like you said, the possibility is so, it just gives us so much hope, so much. It's just a good thing to know. Thank you, Justine. I love that.
Something else you shared, Sandy, that feels really powerful for me is when you said, we think things have to be a certain way. I just want to reflect on that. Of course, things don't have to be a certain way. And when I remember that, wow, there's really a feeling of ease about that. I can be okay now, whatever's actually going on. It doesn't have to be a certain way for me to be okay, for the world to be okay.
Thank you, Justine. Yes, that I think that helps me every day as well, to let go of the reins, instead of trying to make everything be exactly what I think it should be. Angelina, how good to see you, Angelina.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Sandy. Thank you. This is a beautiful conversation. So my first insight ever was, I don't have to believe everything I think. But what's really interesting is something Mary said tonight, is that I don't have to act on everything I think. That's just, the penny has dropped for me there. I think I had forgotten that. So although sometimes I know I don't have to believe my thinking and I don't see it as true, I still have a habit, especially with the kids, of acting out the old habitual behaviors of giving out maybe and raising my voice and shouting and having a meltdown, the usual thing a mother has with her children. So thank you. Thank you for this conversation. That has been, really, really good for me to realize that, yes, on top of not having to believe the stuff, I actually don't have to act it out either. So thank you for that.
I love that, Angelina, too. It's brought up another good point, actually, about things like addiction, which a lot of our habits of behavior are, aren't they? They're just something we keep repeating, but it's really helpful when we understand that the thought to do anything, like you just said, about the kids, but it can be things about smoking or drinking or anything that we think we might have a bit of a problem with, this is why it's helpful, because the thought will come in, well, I need a drink. And oh gosh, I remember back in the day, it would get to 5 o'clock, and if there wasn't wine in the house, I was so stressed out, and I would be in the car and I'd be down the street and I'd be, just this total mess. Because my body thought I needed the wine to stop the feeling. But and then when you actually think about it, how can it be the wine? Because as soon as you take a sip, you go, well, it can't be the wine because it doesn't work that quickly. The thought has gone away. That thought, I need a drink right now. Once you have a sip, the thought's gone away. It's not the wine at all that's making us feel better. It's hilarious. So once you realize that, you can decide, do I want wine today or do I not want wine today? Because if you just notice the feeling, you'll know that in blink of an eye it'll be gone, and it's not, you don't have to act on it, like you said, Angelina. You don't have to act on it every time. So I'm just pointing that out as another way this understanding can help. And just for the record, it's the 18th of February and I haven't had any wine for 18 days. So just for fun. Andrea, how can I help you, Andrea?
I don't have a question. Is that okay?
Oh,
I just thought I'd comment on something that I really appreciate, and kind of back to what was said about more ease, that there's more ease. I'll know, the degree to my understanding in the moment, it matches up with how much ease I feel about life. But it had to do with the, when we get caught up, we all do, and that just, I've been thinking about how, okay, so for instance, I don't get up in the morning and think, gee, I hope I make some decisions today that I really regret and see as poor judgment. I mean, I don't wake up and expect that I'm going to do a lot of stuff and exhibit poor judgment. But what hit me, I don't think there's this understanding and this making use of knowing, making use isn't the right phrase, but the benefits, that's what I mean. The benefits of knowing I'm all caught up. My thinking isn't too trustworthy, which is what I kind of heard Paula talking about. I know my thinking isn't too trustworthy. I know I'm all caught up. And yet I want to wait for it to settle before I do too much. But we sometimes have decisions to make. And that idea of what I thought about with the ease is, it's okay if I do something, that I later kind of need to clean up. I don't know that we get that this journey in the three principles is a ticket to never make a decision that we kind of think, that wasn't ideal. I think it's the nature of our life that, but we are guided, as you've said, by our feelings, and it's okay. It's not the end of the world, and I can get into that all or nothing thinking, which is kind of the metaphor with the toast. There's only two settings, either burn, no, I understand the principles, no bad decisions anymore. No, that's the whole goal. And it's like, sometimes we have to make decisions when we're a little worked up. We get something needs to be said. But I think what I've heard multiple people say is, as long as I can put it off, that's really wise. I want to do as little as possible. But when I do something, it's okay. I can clean it up later. And there's more ease when I live life that way. So I don't know. That became more clear to me, the fearing bad judgments. Yeah. So thanks for listening.
Exactly. Oh, I love that, Andrea. That is so true. The principles don't demonize any thoughts or behavior. It's all happening so organically. And I guess thinking anything about what we're doing, whether it's good or bad, is still the wrong direction. Yeah, I love what you're saying. Yeah. because life is a contact sport, isn't it? So we are going to butt up against other humans and situations. It just, the understanding just, I don't know, for me, it just, it just really takes the pressure off. I don't know, a bit. Once again, that things have to be a certain way. Yeah. Well, I guess we're getting towards the end here. So I just want to thank you all for being here. Thank you so much for coming, taking the time out to explore this. And yeah, I just love seeing you all, some old friends, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, Sandy. It was a beautiful conversation. And thank you to everyone who participated and was present. If any of you would like to contact Sandy and aren't already in touch with her, you can do that through the Three Principles Global Community website. And
Yeah, call me anytime. I'm open just for a chat.
yeah.
Anyone wants to have a chat, call me up.
Great.
Okay.
Thank
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, thanks,
thank you.
Sandy. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you,
Bye.
Sandy. Yeah, that's great. Good to see you again, too.
You too, Andrea.
Yeah.